them all what I'm made up. Strut down the hall, won't stop till I get enough.
Okay, so you want the key takeaways from Arsenal's massive Champions League win against Real Madrid. But maybe you don't have time to wade through all the reports.
Yeah, there's always so much coverage after a big game like that.
Exactly.
Okay.
Well, you're in the right place. We've gone through the BBC Sport, live stuff, the summary, key events, fan chat stats, history, all of it.
Right.
And our mission today is basically to pull out the absolute must-know insights, maybe some surprising bits too, about this pretty emphatic Arsenal victory and what it all means.
And it was emphatic, wasn't it? That second leg at the Bernabéu, Wednesday, April 16th, 2025, Arsenal running out 2-1 winners on the night.
Which sealed that incredible 5-1 aggregate scoreline. 5-1
Yep.
against Real Madrid.
Yep. Propelled them straight into the Champions League semifinals. A huge result.
It really is. So let's dig into how they actually did it. The BBC coverage points to some absolutely key moments.
Definitely.
Bukayo Saka, he got the opener for Arsenal, right? Around the 65th minute.
Yeah, that's right. And a great assist from Mikel Merino for that one. Really unlocked things.
But then, almost straight away, Real Madrid hit back. Vinicius Jr. just 2 minutes later.
Yeah, 67th minute. You sort of thought, okay, here we go, Real Madrid momentum shift.
You did. You really did. But Arsenal didn't crumble. Deep into stoppage time, 90+3. Gabriel Martinelli pops up.
And guess who assisted again?
Merino.
Mikel Merino again. Incredible performance from him. That sealed the 2-1 win on the night.
It just shows incredible resilience, doesn't it? After conceding that quick equalizer to still push and find a winner away at the Bernabéu.
Absolutely. It wasn't like they just sat back to defend the aggregate lead. They clearly wanted to win a leg itself. And, well, the 5-1 overall score shows they dominated the tie.
And thinking about before Saka scored, there were a couple of potentially game-changing moments that went Arsenal's way.
Yes. The reports mentioned a Real Madrid penalty being overturned.
And a Kylian Mbappe goal was disallowed too, apparently.
Right. The source doesn't actually say why they were overturned, which is a bit frustrating. VAR, maybe. Offside. Foul.
We can only guess, really. But the key thing is, those decisions went Arsenal's way. And they kept their focus, didn't let it derail them.
Exactly. And despite those moments, the overall feeling from the BBC coverage, from the pundits, was that Arsenal really deserved it.
Yeah, Ali McCoist apparently called the Martinelli versus Frank Garcia matchup the mismatch of the season.
That's quite a statement. Really emphasizes how effective Martinelli was down that flank.
And Matthew Upson noted that Real Madrid, famous for their comebacks, they just didn't really look like pulling one off this time. Arsenal were comfortably in control.
Which is saying something, given the stage and the opponent.
Definitely. And you get a real flavor of the fan feeling from the hashtag BBC football tag.
Oh, yeah. Always lively after a big game.
Sean seemed pretty pleased, said he was satisfied seeing Real Madrid humbled. Strong words.
Well, it was a dominant performance. You can see why fans would feel that way.
And Ben made an interesting point about Arsenal showing a new steel under Arteta. Being able to see out wins like this, even after conceding.
That's a recurring theme, isn't it? That resilience. But then you always get the eagle-eyed fans, too.
Like Dave.
Yeah, Dave pointing out Thomas Partey picking up a silly yellow card.
Oh, okay. And does that have repercussions?
It does, actually. Looking at the details, that yellow card means Partey is suspended for the first leg of the semifinal.
Oh, wow. That's a big blow. A key player missing.
Definitely something Arteta will have to plan around.
Okay, let's switch gears a bit and look at the stats. Numbers can sometimes tell a different story or, add some detail.
Sure. What stood out for Arsenal?
Well, their expected goals, the XG, was higher, 2.05, compared to Real's 1.50. So better quality chances created, it seems.
Right, not just more shots, but better opportunities.
And they did have more shots on target to 6 compared to Real's 3. That's pretty efficient.
Definitely.
Defensively, the numbers are quite striking. Arsenal made way more clearances, 37 total to Real's 12.
37? That's a lot. Shows they were under pressure, but dealing with it.
And headed clearances, especially 24 for Arsenal, only 7 for Real, winning those aerial battles.
That paints a picture, doesn't it? Real putting balls into the box, Arsenal heading them clear time after time.
Also interesting, Real Madrid apparently made 2 errors leading to shots, while Arsenal made none.
0 errors leading to shots for Arsenal. That's impressive defensive concentration.
And Real were dispossessed more often too, 13 times compared to Arsenal's 7. Suggests that Arsenal pressure was working.
It certainly looks that way, forcing turnovers. And Raya, the Arsenal keeper, made 3 punches. Courtois made none. Raya was active commanding his box.
Okay, but on the flip side, Real Madrid did dominate possession, right?
Oh, yeah, massively. 66.1% possession for Real, only 33.9% for Arsenal.
So they had a lot of the ball. And more total shots, too. 18 to Arsenal's 11.
Correct. Though, as you said, fewer actually hit the target.
They also had more touches inside Arsenal's box, 34 to 22, and completed way more passes, 431 total passes, 371 accurate, compared to Arsenal's 233 total and 178 accurate.
So lots of possession, lots of passes getting into the box. But they couldn't convert that into enough clear chances or goals.
Exactly. 10 corners for Real to Arsenal's 4 also suggests they were applying pressure, building attacks.
But ultimately, Arsenal's defense held firm, and they were much more clinical when they had their chances. It shows possession isn't everything.
It really does. What about the players involved? The lineups?
Right. So for Real Madrid, Ancelotti went strong, Courtois in goal, Alaba and Rudiger at center back.
Okay.
Midfield 3 of Valverde, Tchouaméni, and Bellingham. And then up front, Rodrigo, Mbappe, and Vinicius Jr. Pretty scary.
That is formidable. Did they make changes?
Yeah, brought on Modric, Brahim Diaz, Asensio, later on experienced heads.
And for Arsenal?
Arteta had Raya in goal. Bit of a surprise maybe with Lewis Skelly alongside Kiwior and Saliba in central defense, Timber at fullback.
Young Lewis Skelly starting at the Bernabéu. Wow.
Yep. Midfield was Ødegaard, Partey, and Rice. And then that front three we talked about, Saka, Marino playing almost as a forward, and Martinelli.
No subs for Arsenal.
Late changes to see it out. Tierney, Ben White, Zinchenko came on.
And the bookies, you mentioned Partey. Raya also got one for Arsenal.
Correct. And for Real, Alba, Rudiger, and Asensio picked up yellows. But Partey's is the one with the immediate consequence, that semifinal suspension.
Right. So speaking of semifinals, who else made it through?
Well, Inter Milan are through as well. They drew 2-2 with Bayern Munich in their second leg, but that was enough for a 4-3 aggregate win. Close one.
Okay, so the semifinals are set then.
Yep. It's Arsenal taking on Paris Saint-Germain.
Wow. Messi versus his old rivals? Oh, wait, no, wrong timeline. But Mbappe, potentially against his future... No, wait, Mbappe's at Real in this scenario. Okay, Arsenal versus PSG.
And Inter Milan will face Barcelona. Two absolutely huge semifinal ties there.
Definitely mouth-watering prospects. And going back to Arsenal and Real, there's some interesting history there too, isn't there?
There really is. This win actually continues Arsenal's unbeaten run against Real Madrid in European games.
Unbeaten? I didn't realize that.
Yeah. Before this tie, they'd played 3 times. Arsenal won 2, drew 1, and incredibly, hadn't conceded a single goal in those 3 games.
No goals conceded against Real Madrid in 3 games. That's amazing.
It is. They obviously conceded this time in the second leg, so they just missed out on becoming the first team ever to keep 4 straight clean sheets against Real in the Champions League or European Cup.
Still, extending the unbeaten run with a 5-1 aggregate win is pretty good going.
Understatement of the year. And it ties into another historical point about Real Madrid.
Oh, yeah.
They generally struggle when they lose a first leg heavily. When they've lost the first leg of a knockout tie by 3 or more goals, like they did against Arsenal.
Which was 3-0 in the first leg, wasn't it?
Exactly. Well, in the previous 4 times that happened, they'd been eliminated on 3 occasions. So that big first leg loss really put them behind the 8 ball, and historically, they don't often recover from that.
That context makes Arsenal's first leg performance seem even more crucial then.
Absolutely set the tone for the whole tie. And talking of history repeating, or rhyming, Arsenal's away form in the Champions League this season has been strong.
Right.
This win in Madrid means they could now equal their longest ever winning run away from home in the competition.
Which is?
4 wins in a row. And the only other time they did that run included a famous 1-0 win against Real Madrid at the Santiago Bernabéu back in 2006.
No way. So they won there in 2006 as part of a 4-game away streak, and now they've won there again and could equal that streak.
Spooky, isn't it? History definitely echoing there.
It really is. And just looking at Arsenal's overall Champions League campaign this season, the numbers are just fantastic.
They really are flying.
28 goals scored so far. That's an average of what, 2.55 goals per game?
Incredible attacking output. And defensively.
Just as impressive. Only 6 goals conceded. That's barely over half a goal conceded per game. 0.55 on average.
Wow. And apparently those averages, both for goals scored and goals conceded, are their second best ever in a single European campaign.
So statistically, this is one of Arsenal's best ever runs in Europe.
It certainly points that way, just firing on all cylinders, offensively and defensively.
Was there any mention of tactics? like how they achieved this dominance?
A little bit. The BBC coverage noted something from the first leg, that Arsenal's high-intensity pressing, particularly in Real Madrid's defensive third, was significantly higher than Real's own pressing.
Oh, okay. So really getting after them high up the pitch.
Yeah, suggests a deliberate tactical approach to disrupt Real's build-up, force those errors we saw in the stats, and maybe contribute to that overall control they seem to have.
Makes sense. Any individual milestones mentioned, aside from Partey's unfortunate suspension?
Well, on the Real Madrid side, it mentioned Vinicius Jr. is getting close to a pretty big landmark.
What's that?
He's apparently nearing 50 goal involvement, so goals and assists combined in the Champions League for Real Madrid.
50. That's huge.
It really is. Only 3 other Real players have ever done that: Cristiano Ronaldo, Benzema, and Raul. Pretty elite company.
Shows his quality and consistency for them over the years.
Yeah.
Anything on the Arsenal side?
Yeah, a nice little stat about young Miles Lewis-Skelly, who we mentioned, started the second leg. In the first leg, he got an assist.
Right.
And that made him only the 3rd English teenager ever to assist a goal in a Champions League knockout match.
Only the 3rd. Who were the others?
The report says all 3 have been Arsenal players.
Ah, that's brilliant. Speaks volumes about the young talent they keep producing.
It certainly does. Bodes well for the future.
Okay, so let's try and bring this all together then.
Yeah.
What we've gathered from this deep dive into the BBC coverage.
Yeah.
It's pretty clear this 5-1 aggregate win for Arsenal over Real Madrid wasn't just a result, it was a statement, a really comprehensive, dominant performance over 2 legs.
Absolutely. They overcame a European giant, bucked some historical trends, and just looked incredibly impressive doing it, reflecting their form all season in the competition.
And now we've got these massive semifinals to look forward to. Arsenal versus PSG and Inter Milan against Barcelona. Should be fantastic viewing.
Couldn't ask for better ties, really.
So hopefully this conversation gives everyone listening a really solid grasp of what happened, the key stories, the stats, the context, without needing to read every single report out there.
Yeah, hopefully saved you a bit of time and pulled out the most important bits from that BBC coverage.
Right. And just to leave you with something to chew on, thinking about Arsenal's history against Real, their current form, this dominant quarterfinal display, what are their chances, really, of going all the way, lifting that trophy at Wembley?
It's the big question, isn't it?
And specifically, what kind of tactical battle are we going to see against PSG in the semis? How do they overcome that challenge? Lots to think about before the next round kicks off.
Definitely going to be fascinating to watch unfold.
Sound the alarm. I'm coming up. We'll have a ball. I'm sweet like a buttercup. You're Bobby doll. Show them all what I'm